Tara Omatosho with Inspired into Action, where we interview women who are taking action in business. Today, I am talking with Tanya Barnette. She's going to tell us about who she is and what it is that she does. How are you doing today, Tanya?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being available. Could you tell the listeners more about who you are?
Absolutely. I am Tanya Barnette, your real wife coach, and I'm the founder of the Real Wife Movement. I'm also the founder of Forever Free Books, which is a literacy nonprofit where we deliver free books to children in need in the Washington, D.C. area, as well as nationally and internationally.
Wow, that's awesome. How did you get started in the real wife movement? How did all this become possible?
Well, I actually wrote a book called Being a Wife Just Got Real. So that's where the real part came in. And the title of my book is Being a Wife Just Got Real, Things I Wish I Knew Before I Said I Do. And then from there, once women started reading the book, they started reaching out to me and just saying, hey, I want help, or there's some things that I read in your book that are speaking directly to me where I am right now. And so in the process of my book, you see a growth process of me going from being a terrible wife. Basically, I say I was a ghetto hot mess wife turned godly wife. So, and I take women through that process. And so it started this whole movement where women are like, I saw how you changed. I saw how your marriage changed. I want to do that too. Can you help me? And so it really was starting with one woman, and then she told friends, and it just turned into this movement that put me in front of you today.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's so great how you take your testimony and it ends up helping other people. I mean, that's just awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
So, in regards to like, I understand you wrote this book because you felt like you wanted to share testimony, but how did you becoming a coach? You talked about it a little bit. People kept asking you, but like, how did this really happen? Like, if someone was interested in doing this, how would they go about maneuvering the way that you did?
Really, what I did is I just took a leap of faith. I talked to my husband about it. It got to the point where women were calling me all hours of the night, texting me. I would pick up my phone and you would just hear sobs on the other end. And so I just found myself spending an hour or two on the phone. And I talked to my mentor, Julian B. Kiganda, and she said, hey, T, because there's so many women reaching out to you, you need to turn this into a business where you can help more women instead of, a handful of women here or there. And so that's how it started. I let churches know, sororities know, different organizations know what I was doing. And a lot of people hadn't heard of it, or they've heard of wife coaching, not life coaching, but wife coaching. But it wasn't, how can I say, it wasn't as real. I touch on real issues. A lot of things are surface, so I go deep. And that's how it started. So I would definitely say if someone was interested in turning their test into a testimony, really allow the people to come to you. Like I don't search out people. Women just find me either through talking to a friend who read my book or they saw me speak at an event. And so that's how it turned into a business.
Wow. So in regards to this business and what are some challenges that have come up in regards to starting this business or writing the book that you can share with the listeners and how you were able to overcome from those challenges?
Well, actually, my book, the process for that was really smooth. Believe it or not, and I talk about this in the book. I started maybe about a couple of years ago. I wrote one chapter, set it down because life got hectic. Picked it up 2 years ago, and from there, I went on a girls' trip to Mexico. Sat on the beach for a whole week, and the book was done in that whole entire week.
Wow.
Yeah. So by the time I came done, I reached out to my mentor. I said, hey, my book is done. And it was published in less than a year from there.
Wow.
And I self-published my book. So the book was very easy. The challenges for me now with the coaching is just really making sure that I am making time for myself, believe it or not. Because so many women are reaching out to me, my husband helped me put business hours, which I didn't have. So it'll be midnight and I'm on the phone, you're downstairs and someone's crying or sending me a text, hey, Tanya, can you talk now? And I would answer those calls. And so really finding time for myself because I do give a lot, pouring into women who are hurting, who are looking for answers to where to go in their marriage, you put all your emotion into it. For me, it's not just something to do. Really, I understand women's pain because I was there. And so just really finding time for myself has been my biggest challenge.
That's interesting because I think a lot of times as women entrepreneurs, when we're trying to hustle, 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 and trying to keep up because you're your mom, your wife, you can wear all these hats, but you still want to be you. And so, the only time you maybe find it, that's available to be you and to express yourself in the way you want to in your business is late nights. And then that makes horrible days, and not so enjoyable people during the day. So it's good that you have found that comfort spot where you're able to still focus on your business and focus on your family, and focus on yourself as well.
Absolutely. And I mean, and it got to the point where even my husband was like, yo, you're helping all these people. What about me? And so I really, once I started to dial back, I was able to make time for him. Because even my weekends were consumed. I don't work on Sundays anymore. I would come home from church and on the computer answering questions or inquiries or what have you. And so I had to stop all that and really get focused and say, okay, ladies, these are my hours. Before and after that, I just can't, I can't help you because then my household suffers and then I can't help them.
Right. Right. You can't be true to your brand if your life is falling apart.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Tell us more about the skills that you feel are needed in order to be a coach like you.
I would say compassion, empathy, those are the key. Being able to hear the situation or hear the person's heart from their point of view. A lot of times I think what I found is some people have been wounded or hurt by coaches who have not lived the experiences. So for wife coaching, I can say I was a woman who loved my husband, but I hated being married. So when I coach women, I know what that feels like. I could use this example. I was never on drugs. I'm just going to use that as an example. So for me to try to coach somebody out of that type of situation, I don't know what it feels like to be addicted. I don't know what those triggers are or anything like that. So I would definitely say if someone wants to coach, let it be your passion, something that, 10 years from now, you're not like, Lord, what did I get myself into?
Why are they calling me?
Because I have seen instances where people get into it just because of the money or being seen or what have you. But for me, it really is a passion because if I can help a woman get her life together, not only does it change her, not only does it change her husband, but then it improves the household for their children. And I always say, a healthy wife produces a healthy husband, which produces healthy children, which produces healthy community. And then it just grows. So if I can just change one wife and her community is changed because of that, I've done what God has sent me here to do.
That's a good way to think about it because one person reaches another person, which affects another person, which affects another person, and it's a circular problem. I mean situation where it all goes in stages, all works together. So that's a good way to think about how you're able to help one person and that person is able to help others. In regards to action plans, and this can be action in business, action in coaching, or writing a book. What are some 3 steps that you can share with the listeners on how they can take action today? Because I'm all about action. I love when people put their information out there, I'm about to start a business, but then you don't see any action plans. So I'm all about action. So how can people take action today if they want to not do exactly what you're doing, but sort of along the same lines?
Ask them what is their passion. So definitely write down what your passion is. I do coaching. I also have my nonprofit, which I'm a heavy reader. So for me, it doesn't get old doing my nonprofit. There's not a day where I wake up and say, oh my gosh, why am I doing this? I have a passion for reading. And so I would definitely say start there with passion. And then step 2 would be to get as much information as possible. Find groups that you can hook up with, because for me, that's what has really helped. A lot of great Facebook groups where I can go in, say what I do, what tools do I need. And then from there, I would say definitely work on networking and finding people in that arena, so then that way you can go, you're not reinventing the wheel. And then also from there, just write down, do you have the time? What does your time frame look like? Because someone told me, if you're not making money, it's a hobby. So if you want to take it from a hobby to something where you're making money, definitely, assess your time. Do you have the time to put in the effort? Because you're talking about emails, you're talking about inquiries on your website, speaking engagements. Do you have the time for that? I'm blessed to have a husband who, supports what I'm doing. And so therefore, for him, my husband was just like, yo, I'll hold down the house. You do what you do. And so I think it's really important getting that support system as well, because what I found is your friends and family don't support you. I have a lot of great sisters that I met via Facebook or Twitter or Instagram that really support, come out, share. They will call you at 7 o'clock in the morning. Hey girl, what's going on? This your accountability call. So definitely making sure that you have that support system. So find out what your passion is, get connected, get dialed in with other people before you even get started. I think a lot of times we just jump into things and we don't look at the big picture because it can feel like you're isolated. And then, from there, just making sure that you have the tools that you need, whether it's and the time that you need. Because time, it does. Growing a business is just like I equated to being pregnant. You find out you're pregnant, you're all excited. You don't need a stroller right now.
You don't need that hot crib.
Seriously, and
no.
Think about and those of us who are moms, think about the minute you find out you're pregnant, you're thinking about your maternity clothes, what the nursery's going to look like. You don't need that stuff initially. So, just making sure that you are working towards something, I think is just really important.
That's good information. So you talked about your nonprofit with the books. How does that work out? And you said that you love to read. So is that why you started this initiative?
Actually, yes. I've done long-term subbing, which means I work on 60-day contracts in the school system, and then usually my contracts are extended to a school year. I've been doing it for about 10 years now. And so I was in a first grade classroom, and I would send home a reading log. Kids would come back, reading logs empty, and I started fussing at them. One little boy started crying. I was like, "What's wrong?" He was like, "I don't have books." And so I was like, "What do you mean?" I was distraught because, y'all can't see it, but I have bookcases beside me. My children have bookcases in their rooms. I grew up with books. I played librarian when I was a little girl. And so I did a poll right there. I said, how many of you have books at home? And only 5 children raised their hands out of a classroom of 25 first graders. I said, well, how many of you have a library card? Kids didn't even know what a library card was. Okay. So I went on social media that night. Hey, I need 25 books for my baby. By 2 weeks in, I had over 300 books.
Wow.
Yes. And so from there, I was like, okay. And I talked to my husband again, said, babe, look, there's a need. People want to give. I'll be that conduit to make that happen. And so the name of my business is Forever Free Books. And I got that from Frederick Douglass, where he said, once you learn to read, you'll be forever free. And so to me, reading is freedom. When I think about what my ancestors went through to even read, it was a threat. And so if I can put books inside children's hands, to me, I'm extending that legacy from slavery, where slaves were, denied the right to read. Now it's kind of like me rebelling against that, saying, I'm giving all the baby, whoever needs a book, you can have a book. And that's our philosophy. We do not turn children down, regardless of their economic income. Now, I do tell people, if you have the means, please take 1 or 2 books, but for low-income children, it's really about starting home libraries.
That's awesome. So are they sent out to their homes, or is it some central location where they can come pick up the books?
Our motto is we take the books where the kids are. So we actually go into the community. So if there's, say, for instance, a little kid's Little League football game, I roll up in my bookmobile, which is my car, and I have a collapsible rocking chair, and I show up. We do story time. The kids get to shop for free books. I'm a vendor at a local public school, so I actually get paid to go in and do story time. All the little children do an arts and crafts that's geared towards the book. And then they shop for free books. We've shown up and posted outside of big box stores like the Girl Scouts and them. Put a tent out there, and we're giving away books. And so we have had wonderful partnerships with different NFL teams, different foundations that have donated to us so that we're able to continue doing what we're doing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you made a lot of good points, especially when you talk about slavery and how um, being able to read was denied from us. I mean, it was against the law. If people were teaching African Americans how to read, they were arrested. And now we have the freedom to read anytime, any day, anything that we want to read. And many of us are not even picking up a book, let alone listening to audio. Along those lines of talking about books, what are some books that you get inspiration from, whether it's in business or in life? Can you share those?
That's a great question. One book that I love is Whose Shoes Are You Wearing? And that is by Christine St. Ville and Julianne B. Kigana, their sisters. I love that book. I go back and reference it sometimes. It helps me get free. It helps me to say no is a complete sentence and not feel guilty. That book freed me up to say no.
Yes.
And so that is such an inspirational book to me. And then there's another book by Lisa Turkhurst, with Proverbs 31 Women Ministry, and it's The Best Yes. Yeah. And it taught me how when I say yes to somebody else, I'm saying no to me, and vice versa. And so those two books really helped me. And of course, Purpose Driven Living was just, that book, when I did the 30 days in that just was transformational for me. So those three books are my top three that I would suggest people read that really will help you reflect. Those books to me are really about reflecting. You can write in them. And those are beautiful. Of course, the Bible, but I do that on audio.
Right. I know it's those book reading is so important. Not only, you can do research online and that's great, but reading is so important. It expands your vocabulary. It helps you to communicate properly with other people. And it sometimes expands the dialogue that you're able to have with people that you might not have thought you had anything to talk to them about. So I just always sometimes like to ask that question: what are people reading? Because it tells a lot about who they are. I wanted to ask you in regard, I know we're going to get to talking about your event that you have going on, but I wanted to ask you, because I know a lot of people may wonder, in regards to being a coach and author and doing some speaking engagements, how do you come up? And this is not a question I prepared you for, but so if you don't just answer the best way possible, we might have to, we'll see what happens. How do you come up with pricing and how to structure your business in that way? A lot of people want to know, but people don't ask that question.
Right. I look at what other people charge because I believe in being fair. I don't believe in price gouging. I do know my worth and my value. And so that's what I do. And depending on the event and what is required of me, if there's travel involved, things of that nature. But definitely I look at what other coaches are doing because I don't want to overprice my products. And I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm devaluing myself either. And believe it or not, a lot of coaches, especially in the marriage and relationship space, we partner on events. So, we work together. And that's one of the things I always try to tell people, that for me, there is no competition because we're all doing the same job, and that is helping marriages. And so that's why partnerships are really important. So yeah, I'm very reasonable with my pricing, just because I want to make sure that I am obtainable by people who need my services.
That's good. So you talked about collaboration, and could you talk to us about this event that you're having where you're collaborating with another person that helps people out with relationships? Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. I'm so super excited. We have the Art of Being a Wife tour coming up. That is July 15th here in the Washington, D.C. area. It's from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. And what we're going to be doing is talking about different things that women need to do to have great relationships. We call it the Art of Being a Wife tour because Majority of the women, about surveys have shown that about 90% of women want to be married, whether they're divorced, single, never been married. Majority of women want to be married, and so, but we're not taught how to be wives, and so we call it the art of being a wife. We're trying to zero in on art studios that are Black owned. So the one that we'll be at in DC is a Black owned art studio. So I'm really excited. We get to support a sister. And so pretty much what we'll be doing is covering things that pertain to women, all about women. So we do not do male bashing. So if you're coming, if you want to come and you want to have a great fest, we're not doing that. We're celebrating femininity. We're celebrating love, respect, mutual things that go on in relationships. Whether we're going to be talking about sex and what that looks like, how to have conversations pertaining to our sexuality and what our needs are and what we like. Because a lot of times women we just don't talk about it. We're shy, we're bashful after we get married. And what I'm finding is a lot of single women are talking about it.
Right. I laugh because you said after we get married, and that's so funny to me. It's like when you're single, you're hanging from the chandeliers or whatever, and when you get married for whatever reason, it's like I'm tired. I can't do this, and it should be the opposite way.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about how do you have that conversation with your husband. And believe it or not, husbands want to know how to please their wives. So we're going to be talking about how to start that conversation. But I'm really excited because Dominique Clark is partnering with me on this. She's a matchmaker, and so she said, I get people together, you keep them together, let's work together. And so it has just been phenomenal. Planning this event with Dominique. We're kicking it off here in DC. And then we'll be going to Charlotte, and we're looking at some other cities to take this event. And I'm super excited because the swag bags are on fire. We have products by Kohl's by Nature, Sassy Jones Boutique. So every woman is getting a pair of earrings. We have Hello Gorgeous in our swag bags. Every woman's getting lipstick. So they're getting hair care products, they're getting lipstick, they're getting earrings, and then DC Nightlife, who's a big time nightlife, nighttime, whatever event, whatever here in the DC area, they actually donated 2 tickets to a Soul Jazz Funk Fest crab feast.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. So you figure between the swag bag and the tickets,
right.
the $40.
You can't lose. You can't lose.
Yeah, you're getting about $100 worth of product and services. And then Black and Married with Kids just partnered with us, and they're donating, not donating, but they're sponsoring, and they've also given us DVDs for the women who are coming. So I'm so
That's gonna be awesome.
Yes. And the dress code is jeans and heels, so you
Okay.
come cute and sassy.
All right. And where can they register?
They can go to bit.ly, so bit.ly /DC, and that's a capital D, capital C, wife. So bit.ly /DC wife.
And I'll make sure I put that information in the comments.
Awesome.
So, yeah. So if people wanted to get in touch with you after this interview, how can they get in touch with you? Where are you located?
Well, my website is realwifemovement.com. I'm in the Maryland, D.C. area, Maryland, D.C., Virginia. We call it DMV here. My house, I'm actually about 20 minutes outside of D.C. And my website is realwifemovement.com. They can also connect with me on social media, Real Wife Coach. I'm Real Wife Coach on all social media platforms. And I'm very easy. I will respond to you. If people have events where they need a speaker or what have you, I come, I'm transparent. I'm just, the way we are here, that's how I am in person. What you see is what you get. And I just believe in helping women have the best relationships they can, because your relationships can make or break you. And we see that in the news every day, but we all have to do our part. And I think as Black women, we need to stand up and do our part.
Yeah, I agree. Because it's work. A lot of people don't think about the amount of work it takes to continue and maintain a relationship. And it's so important that you're there to assist so that relationship can stay strong. You're out all over America. And I thank you for taking this time out to interview with me. I learned a lot about you and about your business. And I'm sure that anybody that listens to this will definitely appreciate the information that you shared.
Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And my husband and I just celebrated 18 years this
Whoop, whoop,
past
whoop.
week. So that is so exciting to me. But you got to get the book to find out the journey.
Right, right. You can't cheer. You can still cheer and say hey, but it's more effective when you read the journey. I understand.
Right. Then you can be like, girl, how'd you do that? And
Right.
I get a lot of that. I get a lot of, girl, I don't know if I could have done that. And that's what I want people to get when they get the book. It's really just like how we're having a conversation. I've had so many people say, Tanya, I hear your voice the whole entire time I'm reading the book. And I hope it blesses women.
It will. I mean, it's just that, God is not a respecter of person. He's a respecter of faith. And if you really want your marriage to work and you seek people out to assist you with that, it will work. But you gotta really want it. You gotta believe that it's worth fighting for.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
All right.